Hi, and welcome to episode 1 of Totally Lost. I am Tom, and joining me today is Guy.
Hello.
And we're going to be starting this podcast to kind of discuss the magic spoilers that are going to be coming out for Battle for Zendikar initially, but we're potentially going to progress this into something more, maybe talk about different things, just kind of build upon it and use it as something to talk to whoever might or watching.
So, might just be us.
Yeah, it might just be us talking, and that's fine for us, you know.
Just fine.
So who are we? I mean, if you've watched any of our terrible drafts, we're really sorry about the poor quality.
Apologize.
You should recognize our voices, and now you get to see us in the digital. So I'm Tom. I've been playing Magic now for 4 years, I think, since Zendikar. Not since Zendikar. That's ages ago. Since Innistrad Block came out. Sorry. And yeah, I'm primarily, I'd say, a mid-range player. Like mid-range decks are kind of my thing. But yeah, other than that, I enjoy the occasional aggro deck like everyone else. And then of course we have Guy.
Yeah, I'm Guy. Hello again. For some reason I said hello again. I started playing about 8th edition, I think.
Yeah, so you have a
But
bit more of a
10. That's about 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, so you've got a bit more of a history than I have with Magic.
I played a little. Yeah, played a little. I think I have a fair few the intro decks for Kamigawa block.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stopped playing because no one I knew played, so generally stopped. And then I picked it up about the same time as Tom did, probably on the same trip we went to.
No, I picked up after that actually.
Oh, okay, so in the Strad block, I remember. So I bought a fair few of Dark Ascension and been playing from then.
Yeah.
Um,
Same with me.
I was jumping from deck to deck, and then returned to Ravnica block hit, started playing Azorius, and then fell in love with Control, and been a Control player ever since.
Yeah.
I'm not too keen on the aggro deck, but I appreciate its nuances.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna kind of dive right into things. Battle for Zendikar is sort of in full swing, or is about to be in full swing of spoilers. I think spoiler weeks start next week. I think I've heard it starts on Monday. We're recording this on the Saturday before.
That would be the 8th?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Sorry, I'll probably give the podcast a bit of context rather than saying next Monday, and then people go, what?
So we've got a fair few cards to talk about because a few of them have been spoiled at the moment.
Was it PAX East?
Yes, yeah. So we will start, and I think I've messed up a little bit, but we will start with none of these cards that you can see on screen now. We'll start with this one, and we'll start talking with about landfall, essentially. And the card I have for the example is the Auron Reef Hydra. So obviously, landfall is back. Landfall was in original Zendikar block. It's a really interesting mechanic, really powerful. It makes you excited for your land drops, which is something that not many things do.
Yeah, it's even it's a really cool mechanic because it means that when you're top decking, even land is good for you. Normally, when you get into that point, you draw land and you breathe a sigh and go, "Oh, why did I draw this land now?" But landfall gives you kind of that. Every card matters. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah. But the important thing to note with this card, and the reason I chose it, is because they've decided to do something a little bit more interesting, which I don't think they ever did in the original Zendikar block.
No, I don't believe they did. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I think this is what they've changed a little bit.
And this is that some of the landfall triggers on some of the creatures, and potentially some of the spells we don't know yet, now care about the type of land that you play. So Auron Reef Hydra, as you can see on the screen now, is whenever a landfall enters the battlefield on your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. If, however, that land that you played is a forest, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on Auron Reef Hydra instead.
Yeah, so seems like good in
Yeah.
a. I mean, like it depends on what you're talking about. Like limited, this seems just
Yeah, this is a
crazy.
limited
This
one,
is
like clearly.
like crazy limited kind of card
Yeah.
where it's just like, oh, plays turn 6, turn,
Yeah. I mean,
and like,
even without landfall, even ignoring landfall, you've got a
yeah,
5/5
like,
trampler. Like that's
yeah,
gonna end games for you easily, and then
like
the fact that
ne-
you can maybe like
play a land, make it bigger.
play a land. Maybe if they bring someone like Sakura Tribe Elder like into the set, I don't know whether they
Oh
would,
yeah,
but
yeah.
something of the
I don't. I
equivalent,
still think. Yeah.
like maybe a 4-drop that does that has that effect that can
Mm.
find lands like a Burnished Heart type of thing. Um, if at instant speed you can find 2 forests, bring them out into the battlefield during
Yeah, yeah.
combat, suddenly you've given your opponent a real headache.
Yeah, well, if you have any kind of ramp to get into this, it just
Yeah.
makes it just even more
Oh
insane.
yeah.
Because by the time you get this out, you'll probably still have landed your hand if you're ramping into it, and
Yeah.
it just seems silly.
Yeah.
um,
The other thing I want to talk about this sort of mechanic is obviously landfall is not only limited to creatures or to permanents more specifically. We've seen it in the past with Searing Blaze,
yes,
where
Blaze.
landfall can be on instants and sorceries. And I was saying to one of our friends who may be on the show in a future episode, I'd like to see a 2-cost red spell, so like 1 and red, that is deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Then its landfall is deal 2 damage to target creature or player, and then its landfall, if you've played a mountain, it becomes 3 damage. And you could do that as a 2-drop, or you could even do it as a 1-drop. Like I could see 1 mana for 1 damage being fine, and then if you've jumped through all these hurdles,
Yeah,
suddenly
I
it
mean,
becomes a lightning bolt.
like the problem is like wizards are very careful not to print lightning bolt again.
Yeah, yeah, and I get that.
And even though we have a kind of lightning bolt at the moment, but it's only to creatures, so if they could do that type of thing and do it just to creatures, and I
Yeah.
think that would be fine.
But, I mean, the potential for this kind of mechanic is really interesting. Like, they could do a creature that gives -1/-1 to all creatures when you play a land, and then -2/-2 when you play a swamp.
Yeah, I believe we've had a blue one.
Yeah, we've had a blue one. He's a Sphinx for 6 mana, or 5 mana. I think it's 5 mana. And he's a 4/5.
4/5, yeah.
And
it's
he taps down a creature when you play a land. If it's an island, that creature is tapped and does not untap during its controller's next untap step.
So, going on those lines, so the black one, I can easily see it being your landfall, or opponent's creatures get -1/-1.
Yeah.
It was a -2. Like, I can see like the white one being some sort of anthem effect for the turn,
Yeah.
similar like that.
Yeah.
And then it's just the red one, which I could easily see being on a burn spell.
I don't know whether we'll get an anthem in white actually, because
Well, it won't,
one of the other landfall cards that I haven't put in for us to look at is an enchantment.
Emeria Summit. It's Emeria something.
Emeria Refuge, maybe? Is it?
Yeah, Emeria Refuge.
But it's landfall. You either get a 1/1 or all your creatures get +1/+1 to the end of turn.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they put too many anthem effects in the white under
that's
landfall. But it's always something they may do. You know, Wizards has the right to kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, there is a restricted list, but.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on landfall. I don't know whether you have anything to add.
Yeah, well, landfall is just a cool ability. I mean,
yeah,
it's talking about constructed. I don't think this card's insane in constructed. It might see a play, but remember, in constructed, you're going to have at the moment standard we have fetch lands.
Yes.
So even if we just had like evolving wilds, which is a standard still, like these cards just make landfall just insane because you can play your fetch land or your evolving wilds, trigger your landfall, sack off the land, get another land, and triggers again.
Yeah.
It just
which I mean, in the case of this, you can essentially with like the new dual lands or even just a basic forest,
you can give it
+3/+3 in one turn.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's an 8/8, and
yeah, it just they did this last time. It's been a thing where the last time we had landfall was Zendikar, original Zendikar block, and the fetch lands were there as well.
Yeah.
And they understand that the fetch lands make this type of card even better.
Yeah, they create a really interesting kind of interaction.
Yeah.
And they make your opponent really think when they're in combat. If you've got like a fetch land, suddenly something they didn't care about, like maybe you've tapped all your mana except for your fetch land, they're like, well, you can't really do anything there. Suddenly, that's an inbuilt combat trick.
Well, that's why I kind of think this might see a bit of standard play, because there seems to be a lot of ramp, and we'll get to that a bit later.
Yeah.
But if you can ramp this out, and then you've got fetch lands and stuff like that, it's just going to make this card crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I can see maybe a couple in standard. Not like it's not going to be a powerhouse, but.
And the other important thing to know about landfall is one of the biggest things about it is that it's like you're likely to build a deck that has multiple triggers of landfall over multiple creatures.
Yeah.
And the power of landfall is in these small incremental effects. Like going back to original Zendikar, there was a card Hedron Crab. Like it was just a 1-drop. I think it was a 0/4.
It's a 0/2 or 0.
Yeah. It had no attacking power, and its landfall was you mill your opponent for something like 2, maybe a bit more.
3. I'm just looking it up.
Yeah. And
it's a 0. Yeah, it's a 0/2 for 1 blue.
Yeah.
And it mills them for 3.
Yeah.
Every time landfall triggers.
So obviously, like on its own, 3 cards a turn is pretty much nothing. But once you start having like 2 or 3 of those kinds of cards, like they're giving you these tiny little advantages.
They just stacked.
Yeah, it's the same reason like playing like you have the Super Friends decks. Like Planeswalker's abilities, whilst being powerful, usually their tick-ups are kind of just small incremental advantages. But once you have like 2 or 3 Planeswalkers on board, and you're doing 2 or 3 of these little incremental things, like put a +1/+1 counter here, or give this thing flying and double strike or whatever, like suddenly
just to say, like, people don't know what a Super Friends deck is. It's a deck that's basically Planeswalkers.
Yeah, your aim is to play as many Planeswalkers, as many different Planeswalkers as you can.
Yeah.
And protect them, and your win condition usually revolves around them.
I mean, like you said, for small incremental effects, and like you said, going back to old Zendikar, and I honestly think I thought of a different card.
Okay.
Which was Lotus Cobra.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is probably more insane than Hedron Crab was.
Yeah.
Which was
a
2
mana 2/1.
Yeah, it's a 2 mana 2/1, so 1 green and 1 for 2/1. And its landfall ability was when it landed to battlefield under your control, you get a mana of any colour.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. Like the amount of ramp this card got was
it's just silly.
It's silly, but yeah.
So
that's for landfall.
Landfall,
I mean,
keep an eye on it.
Landfall, good
gonna
mechanic.
be a good thing. Yeah, it's a good mechanic. So the next mechanic we are going to look at is sort of another return, that is Rally.
It's a sort of return because the mechanic wasn't named before.
Yeah.
It was just the alloy mechanic, essentially, what it was called.
Yeah.
So Lantern Scout is what the card we've picked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 1 and 2, 3/2.
Yep.
Which is not bad anyway.
No.
It's a human ally, a human scout ally.
Yeah.
Which the important word there is ally.
Yeah.
And it has Rally, which is this new effect. Well.
Yeah.
Named effect.
Yeah, they're naming the thing they've already got.
Which states whenever this or another ally enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
Under your control, creatures you control gain lifelink end of turn. Now the Rally effect will be different depending on what card. I think we've had one that's everything you get's indestructible.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
And I mean, they were clever on what they called it because R ally, Rally. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, it also makes sense. It
also makes sense. Yeah,
like everyone's rallying together to defeat these guys. So anyone who's allied with these people gets their bonuses. Rally's an interesting mechanic because. Obviously, again, we were just talking about like the incremental bonuses that you can get with landfall, and this is another example of that, where like you got one guy who gives lifelink, and you're like, okay, that's not that great, and he doesn't really do anything when you play 2 allies in one turn.
Yeah.
But inevitably, there's going to be a card that's maybe like
Well,
way more expensive, gives +1/+1 to a creature or all your
you get
creatures.
like a couple of the rally creatures
Yeah,
on the board, and then like you play a normal ally, which there was in the original Zendikar. I think it was like a cat, wasn't it? And just no artifacts, and all it was just an ally.
yeah,
It had no mechanic on it,
yeah,
so it's just get one of those cards. Like
yeah,
I mean the refuge we were talking about a minute
yeah.
ago.
It
The
makes you
myriad,
1/1 allies,
the
doesn't it?
one is there's a core ally,
Yeah,
so
and
like stuff like that still
also
triggers
later
it.
we're gonna get to him eventually.
Yeah.
Gideon, he also creates allies and becomes one himself. So that's
Yes.
something like that we'll get to in a bit before we get too
But yeah,
excited.
but it's important to know that it's not just your allies to get the bonus; it's all your creatures, regardless if they're allies or not.
Yeah, that's very true.
Um,
I hadn't even
so
realized that.
even if you've only got a couple allies in your deck,
Yeah,
they're going to trigger and hit all your creatures anyway. So
yeah,
it means that something like this works in sealed and limited as well. Like
yeah,
it's not just if you don't have the ally deck, you can't run allies. It's
yeah,
a decent creature on their own, and if you trigger that the rally ability,
yeah,
it's giving bonuses to all your creatures and not just
yeah.
your allies. I like the ally mechanic. I can't,
Yeah.
It's really hard to pronounce now.
Rally.
The rally mechanic.
Yeah.
It kind of builds itself, kind of.
Yeah.
Good.
So I was
It's
watching. Sorry, continue.
So yeah, carry on.
I was watching the podcast by the Magic Show. So Evan Elwin, Aaron Chapman, and someone else whose name I've forgotten. And they were talking about this mechanic, and Evan was saying how he's expecting to see a cheap dude who's in green when you get a rally when you get rally triggers.
Rally trigger.
You give a creature a +1/+1 counter, and like he's expecting there to be a very powerful green-white ally deck.
Oh.
And obviously we've already seen one. I haven't included it because it doesn't have rally on it.
Yeah.
But there was a creature spool. It was relatively cheap creature. I think it was like 3 or 4 mana. It was a green-white creature.
Yeah, the veteran war leader.
Yes.
It was from the dual deck, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
it's a 1 white green
Yeah.
human soldier ally.
And
its
his power and toughness are equal to the number of allies you control.
It's the number of creatures.
Oh, is it number of creatures?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And you can tap
an ally to give him like first strike, vigilance,
or trample.
trample. Yeah, and like
turn.
it's a really powerful card, and I can see it being really good with this kind of ally theme, especially if you've got like that landfall card that does produce allies, and you're like pumping out a few 1/1s, and then eventually you're just like, no, I'm gonna give all my creatures +1/+1, and you like
the ally deck in original Zendikar was very powerful.
yeah,
like,
and I can see it being potentially standard playable.
Well, at the moment, allies is a modern deck.
Yeah.
Like, it's a competitive modern
Wow.
deck. Like, I did a bit of research and like I was looking at some modern decks and it just is crazy. Like, it's like most of the creatures are 3 mana, 4 mana max. Like, it's just play a dude, ally trigger, play another dude, ally trigger, and it's just like a really fast kind of swan deck. And what's a cool thing is I believe that there was the allies in all the colours.
Yes, yeah.
It means it's not just going to be like one type.
I was saying to one of my friends, like, I'm interested. I'm kind of hoping there's a vampire ally, rally. I'm hoping there's a vampire ally whose enter the battlefield, like whose rally ability is whenever another ally enters the battlefield, he deals 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life. So like he's a drain. Now specifically 2 creatures, not 2 creatures or players, because that would just get out of hand.
Yeah.
If they do print something like that, then that'd be crazy.
And we're all doomed.
But yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting mechanic. And he was also saying that he kind of hopes that there's some allies that aren't entirely beneficial to you. So in the case of like a black ally that gives -1/-1 to all creatures. Ooh.
Yeah. Or even stuff at the like your ally trigger is they've done it in the past. They did it with a bit with the raid mechanic, I think.
Yeah.
That doing the ability sometimes benefits you, sometimes doesn't.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that would be a good example. But something that's like, say, undercosted for its ability. So like
Yeah.
something like a 4-mana 5/5 or something like
Yeah.
that that has a rally trigger, which is like you lose a life or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
Like, we want to see interesting things with this. Like,
yeah,
obviously, there's the potential for there to just be like an insane green-white aggro deck, and that be what allies are for.
yeah,
And you remember this. One of my favorite deck types to play is a white mini aggro deck. I
yeah. I remember
ended
that.
up defeating Guy in the end of a Games Day tournament
Really
in the
fast.
finals.
I think it was like 3 turns, both
Yeah,
rounds, or something stupid. I
and
was like, no, I can't deal with this.
so
Yeah,
I'm excited. Like
the
if there
potential for the deck
is
is there.
yeah if there is this deck, I'll probably end up playing it and
They're
enjoying
going
it.
to be. I think they're going to be a bit careful about it,
Yeah,
because obviously they know how powerful allies can be.
yeah,
So it's going to be one of those things that's. I think again, like it's a cool mechanic that works in limited, and can also see like constructed play.
yeah,
So it depends on what they come out. Like this is
yeah.
obviously like the rare, one of the rare allies. So
And this is an important thing to note is like we're very speculative right now. There
yeah,
have been
yeah,
what 30 real cards actually spoiled.
yeah.
There have
Um,
been about 30 others that are like lands
Also,
and things like that.
we're not professionals. We can't read metas and
No,
anything like that.
not yet.
Not yet. We'll
um,
get there maybe.
but so we're very like speculative. We're hoping things are going to come out the way that we want to, but you never know. So yeah, Rally, something to look out for. We think again, same with Landfall.
Maybe.
And I think we will move on to our next mechanic. This one's going to be a pretty short one. And the mechanic we're going to be talking about, hopefully you can see it on your screen now, is Devoid. So Devoid is sort of a mechanic.
Yeah,
It's more like a type, like a feature thing on the card. It's kind of like Defender.
it's kind of like the changeling mechanic, kind of.
Yeah. And it basically just says this card has no color. Like that's all it does. Which is important, obviously, for things like Ugin, because Ugin's ability, his -X, is you exile all colored permanents with converted mana cost X or higher. That does not hit any of these guys.
I really like Devoid, because it's keeping the flavor of the Eldrazi,
Yes, yeah.
and it's making it so it's not accessible to everyone, which
Yeah.
sounds like it's a bad thing, but it's not. Like having colorless cards that everyone can play, it's not good. It's not. It seems really good, but it just means every deck becomes the same.
Yeah.
Meaning, like giving it a cost, but not having it as a color,
Yeah.
and having a color in the cost means that you only certain decks can play this card, but you still have the abilities of it being colorless. Like we've got another dude I think we're looking at next that matters too, but
Yeah.
this card also has another mechanic that you just flash it over. It has the Eldrazi Scion mechanic.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
I'm not counting that as a mechanic. Like, it's kind of a feature of
this is one of-
Eldrazi.
this is kind of like this is them making Eldrazi Spawn probably better.
Yeah, a bit more aggressive.
More aggressive. Now, Eldrazi used to make
0/1
colour,
spawn token.
0/1s that
Yes.
did exactly the same thing.
Yeah. But I like this is a really good card, and it's a good time for me to talk about this. This card is, and these mechanics, really, really flavorful. Like if you think about the story of Zendikar. So for those of you who don't know, or for those who need a reminder, whatever, Zendikar is a very primal plane. It's kind of like a prize of the planeswalkers to go there and try and tame the mana there, because it is very primal. It's untamed. There's no cities. The world is constantly moving.
It's also not very big populations or anything like that.
Because
very untouched.
The land of this world is very much alive. And the story of the Eldrazi is that they essentially eat mana, that they are hungry. And so it's really cool to me that they have, not only has like the Eldrazi spawn have now become scions. They've now grown stronger because they've spent so much time, like essentially controlling Zendikar, or tormenting
It's
it.
like they've spent time in. Was it? They've spent this. This is them after they've got down the Hedrons, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because at the end of Rise of the Eldrazi, all the Eldrazi had kind of escaped from the Hedrons, or been let out, I guess, by Jason Chandra and Nissa.
Something like that.
And so they've been able to like grow and get bigger, but they've also eaten the mana of the plane, and that's affected them. They now have a mana cost, but that doesn't mean they're not still colorless. So I like that it's like they've taken on aspects of the world, but they're also still sort of themselves. Essentially, it's really nice.
Much prefer this than how they did the old Eldrazi, because they did Eldrazi spawn drones and stuff like that with like Kozilek's Predator and stuff like that. That they were Eldrazi, but they were literally coloured cards, and it kind of didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Whereas now it kind of makes sense that they're coloured, but they're still colourless. They still maintain. Also, to point out on this card, they've done a really cool thing with the card, and that's all the Eldrazi are full art. There is full art on this card. It's just behind text box, and also the border is really cool.
Yeah.
They've got like the hieroglyph inscription that I think's on the Hedrons as well.
Yes,
maybe.
Yeah, it looks very much like that.
I just love they've done that with the card artwork. They've made it.
Yeah.
They've made them unique. They've made them. This is Eldrazi. This is kind of a colourless thing, but it's not. It's special, kind of.
Yeah. So we will move on to our next mechanic, which is Ingest.
Yes.
So again, we've got a colourless creature that has a coloured mana cost, so it's got to void again. It's basically what I'm taking a roundabout way to say. But the new thing on this card is Ingest, which I again think is amazingly flavorful. So just quickly, Ingest says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. I think, do they have different amounts, or is it always one? I can't remember.
At the moment, it's only been one.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think even if it was Ingest, if there were different numbers, even Ingest one would still have the number one.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
So I believe that it's always going to be. If someone's not listening and not watching, it's a black and 2 for an Eldrazi drone creature that's 3/2.
Yeah.
Has Devoid, so it's colourless. Ingest, which we just said.
Yeah.
It also has another ability where when it enters the battlefield, if you control another colourless creature, each opponent loses 2 life.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, which means that the void actually matters.
Yes,
So if you had the other one out before, and you play this guy because it's a colourless creature, this is going to trigger.
The important thing to note as well for standard and wider formats than just limited is it specifically says colourless. So that includes the old Eldrazi going really far back, but it also includes things like Morph and Manifest, which are colourless creatures. So if you've got a Morph creature and you play this guy, it's going to trigger his ability.
Yeah.
They're going to lose 2 life.
Like I like the Jester mechanic because it's very flavourable.
Yes,
I prefer this to Annihilator.
Yeah, it's much
better. It's their morph version of Annihilator.
Yeah.
Annihilator was the old big Eldrazi mechanic.
Let's not beat around the bush here. It's a fixed version of Annihilator.
Yeah. If those don't know, Annihilator was whenever it was Annihilator X, so it could be any number.
Yeah.
Whenever this creature attacked, the defending player had to sacrifice that many permanents. That was before they blocked or anything like that.
Yeah.
The biggest was 6, which is. It just wasn't fun to play against. This is fine because it's a card, and it has to deal damage to them.
And it comes off the top of your library, like it's random. It's essentially it doesn't matter what that card is. It's just like whatever.
I don't think we've got this later on, but this exiling the top card of the library actually matters.
Yeah, I didn't put it in here.
Did you?
No, I didn't put it in here because
there's a card that let's see if I can find it quick. It's
Sower of
No, it's a different one.
Oh, okay.
Professional. I think it was a recent one. Yes, it was Blight Herder.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
It's a 5 mana 4/5 Eldrazi processor. It's a colorless
Yes, I
card.
was going to say that's an interesting thing as well because that's a completely new creature type.
Yes, it
Just as
is.
a
Yeah.
complete aside, processor has never been added as a creature type
Type.
before.
So when you cast it, you have the choice of returning 2 cards your opponent controls up exile back into their graveyard, and if
Yeah,
you do, you get a bonus. In this one,
yeah,
you get 3 of the Eldrazi Scions.
yeah.
It means that your early devoid hits are going to give
Ingest
you
hits.
the option to do that. Another thing about that is Delve is going to help that.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Um,
you're gonna have to be a bit more careful, kind of what you delve away, and you maybe want to
yeah,
delve
yeah.
some things away more than others. So yeah, that's
So that's
really
quite
interesting.
nice. It's quite nice that they've given us this insanely powerful mechanic. I mean, even more powerful than they were expecting it to be.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
be honest. Meaning, it's some of them are banned in modern. That's
yeah,
how powerful this mechanic is. And they're giving Wizards like to do this. They give you a mechanic that's really powerful, and then the next set they kind of nerf it.
yeah,
It is similar with Devotion. They give you this insane mechanic and then kind of nerfed it in the next set. And stuff like they give you also enchantments, and then they give you these
yeah,
cards that destroy enchantments. So they give it always kind of this flowing. There's not always just
yeah,
insane deck.
yeah.
But
Which
yeah,
is cool.
apart from that, Jest really cool.
Yep,
Um,
yeah.
In limited, it might matter.
Yeah, I mean, like this card, not so much. Like,
No,
I mean,
this
maybe
one's
you
not
play
so
it
much,
for the little
get
drain
enough-
bit.
you get enough.
Um,
You get enough in Jest. I mean, this is
yeah.
a common. You get enough
and
Jest,
the
kind
the
of.
cool thing about it is that it introduces mill in a really different way. Like we're
Yeah.
very used to mill being an effect that occurs from people playing instants and sorceries and taking your cards that way. This introduces it in a way that's kind of you have to be attacking. It's an aggressive mill, if that makes sense. Like it's
Yeah,
an
the
active thing rather than inactive.
problem with seeing this as mill is you have to hit them with this.
But that's what I'm saying. Is
You're
I-
doing 3 damage.
I
that
yeah,
card.
I'm aware of that. But my point more is like mill. I don't like playing against mill because it feels very non-interactive. It's essentially burn, right? Like it's essentially playing burn, but your life total that you're targeting is much higher than 20. And
Yeah.
it's a very non-interactive thing. Like your opponent's just kind of trying to sit there and take your library away from you and literally stop you from playing the game. Like people complain that control is stopping you from playing the game, but it's not bad to me as mill, where you lose like 7 cards. You're just like, oh, okay, that's fine.
It's fine. Like Ingest
Whereas
is fine.
this, you can block it. You can kind of interact with it.
I think I see Ingest more as kind of your enabling later cards.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I agree, but
You're
it's an
ingesting
interesting
this
thing.
to get some bonus later on, or stuff like Oblivion Sower,
Yeah.
which is better now that I've looked at it again and it's
Yes,
got Ingest and but yeah, this card seems cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing but to say. All the mechanics so far have been
Interesting.
really cool.
Yeah.
Interesting, flavorful.
Yeah.
I think we go next card.
Yeah. We're moving on.
I think it's also interesting and flavorful mechanic.
Yeah, so the next card, or the next mechanic, should I say, that we're looking at is Awaken. Now, Awaken is Awaken X, so it allows you to, or the cards have a specific Awaken number on them. They have a cost, so this one is Awaken 4 for 5 black. And it's if you cast spell for its Awaken cost, you also put 4+1/+1 counters on target land, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. This is an ability that goes on to spells, as far as we're aware.
Yeah, at the moment it's just been spelled. I can't see it being
Yeah.
anything else.
It could be a
It
creature.
could be.
You could pay an Awaken
Yeah.
cost, and then, like, if you pay, you've got like say a
Yeah,
2/2
actually,
for
yeah.
2.
Thinking about it again, I can see it on other
You
cards.
pay a 2/2 for 2 that's like a green shamany dude, and then you pay
Eight.
6 mana and you get a 4/4 or 3/3 elemental with it as well. That'd be pretty cool.
This the problem, my initial reaction, this is a really cool idea. Like, this is good. It's like good early game cards, and then later on we draw them. You're top decking later on. You've got loads of mana anyway.
Yeah.
This gives you a bonus.
Yeah.
It's like another mechanic like
Landfall. Really good in limited. Like that kind of a thing is insane in things like sealed and limited, because it just gives you stuff to do with your mana later on in the game.
It gives you a spell and a creature.
Yeah.
There's nothing really better than that, to be honest.
You're getting a 2-for-1 essentially. Like
it's another kind of like Landfall that works good early game and good late game.
Yes, yeah.
Like late game, if you're drawing this, if it was just, I mean, this is the bad example for this, because it's a kill spell. But if it was just say a 2/2 creature of Awake, like if you draw a 2/2 creature late game, it's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
But if you draw late game and you also get an Awaken, which means you get a land as well, it's one of those cards that's really good. Like I could see the Awaken mechanic being really good in limited.
Yeah.
Constructed, I'm waiting to see good cards.
Yeah. I mean, I think this card is really good in Constructed. I think it's going to be the new Hero's Downfall. I'm going to say it because I know it's sorcery and I know that hurts, but
so much.
Control decks frequently are looking for a finisher, right? And you have to add in that finisher. You have to have like some kind of creature or some kind of end game that's separate to your other spells. This is your early game removal and your late game win condition in one. You can run 4 of these, so you're guaranteed to have like an early kill spell, and then you can, when you draw it late game when you don't really want it, suddenly have a 4/4 elemental that's hitting them in the face that's gonna kill them in like 4 or 5 turns. Like
see where you're coming from. It just hurts that it's sorcery.
I know that.
If this card was 2 more mana and an instant, I could see it used to play.
2 more mana.
It just, we're losing.
5 mana.
What's happening at the moment is we're losing Hero's Downfall.
For those who don't know, Hero's Downfall is an instant spell for 1 black that says destroy target creature or planeswalker.
So this is the same. This is the same, but sorcery.
Yeah.
And it has Awaken for 7 mana. So Awaken 4. Maybe not 2 mana. Maybe I was exaggerating. The control deck doesn't. The problem is, if you're going to Awaken this late game, you're spending 7 mana on your turn.
Yeah. But you're killing a thing and you're getting a thing to block.
That's also another thing. Is to win the game, you need to then have a creature. You can't just play this out for Awaken.
Yeah.
In a control deck, you want to be on the board, and a lot of times when you play control, by the time it becomes relevant, late game, they've got no hand, they're top decking. Normally they're getting land or they're getting a creature or something that's not a creature essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many games where it's just been me going play a land pass turn, and then going picking up playing a land pass turn. It's not a card that kind of fits. I don't think it might. The thing is, it deals with everything essentially, which is really good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it deals with most things. But it's one.
The thing is, like, what are you losing by having this? Like, in those situations that you're talking about, what are you losing by having this in your hand? If your games are going play a land pass turn anyway, and they're picking up part, like, what's going to happen is they're eventually going to get something. They're like, aha, finally I can kill this control player. You're going to be like, sure, resolves, because you don't care whether it resolves, and then on your turn you're going to kill it, get your 4/4 elemental,
I can see the merits
and be able
of
to
it.
hit
just don't
straight
think
away. Because remember, the land gets haste. It's not like it's.
I'm just skeptical that that's all.
I think it'll see standard play. I'm gonna put my seal of approval on it.
Seal of approval.
Yeah.
I'm dubious at best. Awaken mechanic. I love the mechanic. they've been really good
flavorful
at
mechanic.
mechanics that work both in
Perfect.
limited and constructed. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if they release a counterspell with Awaken, I'll be very happy. Um,
I don't think they want to do it at instant speed. I think
No,
the
they don't,
reason
they
this
don't.
is sorcery speed is
the
because
problem is with
they don't want you to be able to get a 4/4
the problem
creature
with
at instant
giving
speed.
Awaken instant speed is the blockers.
Yeah.
So instant speed, get a spell, and you get a blocker.
Yeah.
It's just too powerful.
And I think that's
You
why
might
this is a
skip some
sorcery.
instance, but I think it'd be ridiculously overcosted for
Yeah.
what you get. Yeah, all I am is just dubious. I'm not convinced yet. Just
Yeah.
another side note: the land you get will be colourless, so
Yes.
all those things that affect colourless.
Yep.
I hope we get a kill spell that kills colourless things. I'm just talking about kill spells because this is obviously a kill spell.
I was
Ultimate Price.
talking about it. I don't feel like
I don't feel like we will.
we'll get anything that kills because they don't want to print land destruction essentially.
Yeah.
Which is what that would be.
Because of all these colour spells, we're Ultimate Price, which is kind of seeing a lot of just main deck play at the moment. That's basically the alternative for Heroes Downfall we have at the moment.
Yeah.
Kind of loses a lot of value.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we get in this set. But yeah, I'm happy with Awaken. It seems awesome mechanic.
And the last mechanic we have to talk about, it's a really interesting one. I think I saved the two most discussable ones until last. So we've now got Converge.
Yeah.
Converge is really interesting. The card we have at the moment is Radiant Flames.
It's the only one that's been released so far.
Yeah, it is. It's 2 and a red. For a sorcery, Converge. Radiant Flames deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of colours of mana spent to cast Radiant Flames. So this is maximum going to be an Anger of the Gods.
I'm sorry, you're like, I mean, Anger of the Gods has just seen loads of play everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an insane card. Giving that as a splash.
Yeah.
Like, if you splash red just for this, and you're running, like, even if you're only paying 2 different colours of mana for this, like, the max it can be is a 3 damage to everything, which is just crazy good.
Yeah.
For, like, a single specific colour mana.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 2 damage,
Yeah.
it kills a lot. It kills all the scions.
Yeah.
It kills all the tokens, really, that are rampant at the moment.
I mean, looking past just standard, I expect this might get into modern. For some of the decks that, like, maybe the Naya deck,
maybe like the
Grixis
free colour control decks, the Jeskai control decks,
exactly,
something like
like being able to just like have this easily splashable card where, like, whereas Anger of the Gods you needed to make sure you had double red. This one you can just have like, oh, I've got my main 2 colours and then this one red land that I don't really worry about.
Also, this is a very flavorful mechanic.
Okay.
We didn't really talk about how flavorful Awaken was. Sorry, Awaken's very flavorful because it's the land literally fighting back.
Yes. Yeah.
Converge is very flavorful because it's the land of mana.
Yes.
So having all these different colour manas flying about on one spell is more powerful because this area is rich with mana.
And they've all come together. Essentially like the rally idea, but in mana.
What I also like about this is obviously it's a card that shows the artwork is it just piercing a Eldrazi.
Yeah.
I see this as kind of like the other end. The Eldrazi kind of are like the colourless things in this set.
Yeah.
And on the other end of the spectrum is the things that are going to be really good against them, which are going to be the massive multicoloured stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what this is.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what else they bring out Converge. I always love the idea of the multiple, like the most colours in a deck you can get.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to my friend again. Like, we've had a big discussion.
Who is this friend?
It's Stuart.
Oh, okay.
And I was talking about how I expect there might be a green spell that does like green and 2 and gives like your creatures +1/+1 for each colour of mana spent on that spell. Yeah, so at best it's +3/+3.
This
it may even give trample. I don't know. I don't know. They've been avoiding printing overrun for a reason.
This is very similar to, is it Sunburst?
Yes, yeah.
Sunburst was, but the difference was with Sunburst was always on a permanent.
Yeah.
Because you got a counter on it for each color of mana.
Yeah.
This is just giving it to basically more things.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can have it on sorceries instance. It's similar very too much to the domain mechanic.
Yeah.
Which I forgot. Was it in original Zendikar or not?
I don't remember.
I don't think it was. The domain mechanic was when you cast the spell, or if the creature had domain, it gets something for each basic land type you've had. So obviously, if you had 5 basic land types on the field, would get 5 whatever it'd be, 5 power, or you get 5 damage. But I really like this spell. I mean, a splashable red damage to everything's really good.
Yeah.
It's always been good. Anger of the Gods has been crazy for the last year, 2 years.
Domain was on cards in Invasion and Conflux, so it's right back.
So a bit older. but no.
This
I love
seems sweet. This is going to be definitely standard playable, if not past that into
I think
modern.
We'll see what else there is. Like, it means that you can go the multicolored route. I mean, we'll talk about the land base in a bit. But at the moment, we're looking towards a lot of colours in the deck potentially.
Yes.
I mean, last time we had a similar mana base, we were in
Innistrad.
There was 5 colour good stuff.
Yeah. It was just splashing whatever colour you want because of the powerful spells.
A bit about when we get to the lands.
Yeah, and obviously to support this amazing mana base that we're looking at, they've released a set of 5 dual lands. They all have the basic land types. So, for instance, you can see Prairie Stream has Plains Island on it. They tap for both colours, and their ability is they enter tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands.
It has to be basic, not basic type.
Specifically.
Actually basic.
These are really powerful. These are clearly going to get into standard.
The nickname of these.
So there's a nickname for these that's flying around.
I love this name.
And basically, a lot of people want them to be called Tango Lands. And the reason for this is because it takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
So it takes 2 basic land cards.
I think it's going to catch on. I think I've already seen people talk about them.
Yeah, it was in the podcast I was watching with Evan.
Okay, I've not watched any really stuff about. I mean, when Mark Rosewater announced that they were going to do a new set of dual lands, I expected it to be like they tap for 2 different colours.
Yeah.
And when they actually released, it's actually dual lands.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be talking about this for a little while, probably.
Yeah.
Having 2. For those that don't know, the enter tap unless they have 2 basic lands. That's not the bit where people are excited, really.
Yeah.
The main thing why these are really useful is having the 2 types.
Yes.
It means something that searches for, say, a forest, can search for any land that has forest in it on the types.
Yeah.
So I can't think of one off the top of my head that's not a fetch land.
We've got Ranger's Path, which was a card back in Innistrad block. I think it was in the.
So you went to search for 2 forests.
Yeah, it was search a library for up to 2 forests. Put them both on the
search for a forest. You can search for any of the cards that have forest in the type and do that. It's having that searchable and having the fetch lands in standard as well.
Yes.
Having just printed fetch lands. It means that your mana base will be insane if you can get hold of these cards. Like you can tap a Footerstrand that searches for plains or
an island.
And you can go find
any of these 3 lands.
You can go find
you can find 3. Yeah.
So your white-blue land can go searching for a black mana.
Yeah.
But that's just crazy. It just means that your mana base is just crazy. There's nothing like when we had Shocklands about 2 years ago. It must have been 2 years ago, 2 years ago. It just silly. Like this ability is just crazy. Like.
I mean, to put it to you this way, like, unfortunately we don't have them in standard at the moment. Things like Scalding Tarn, if you take Scalding Tarn, for example, a Scalding Tarn can fetch 4 out of 5 of these lands. The only one
Yeah.
it can't get is Canopy Vista. It can pick you up a
Yeah.
Cinderglade, it can pick you up a
That's
Smouldering
probably
Marsh,
why
a
they're not.
Sunken Hollow, or a Prairie Stream.
That's
Like, it's
they're-
pretty insane.
the thing is also people saying that the other five are going to be in the next set, and I'm dubious.
I don't think there will be. I
I
think,
don't think they will. People are petting it because they just want a full set of these,
yeah,
but they're being very careful with the mana and standard. I think is the
yeah,
main thing they're looking at. They've always had kind of the fetch land and kind of like a different land to go with them,
yeah.
but then there's like the other ones that rotate out. At the
Yeah,
same,
I mean, like, to put it this way, they didn't print all 10 of the fetch lands
or
for
they
a
didn't print
very
all-
big reason.
and then in the core sets, they didn't print. Or they printed the other five. What
Yeah.
colours the fetch lands would be, but as pain lands.
Yes.
It they're being careful with because they don't want standard.
Basically, Return to Ravnica Innistrad was a ridiculous standard format where you had decks that were blue-white core splashing green, red, and black just because the mana base was so good.
It was like decks like was it Kessig? No, it was
My favourite one is Thrag.
Bant Wolf Run.
Yeah, there was Bant Wolf Run. There was also Thragfire Omnidor, which was, I believe, a 5-colour deck.
The door needs 5 colours.
Yeah, so it was a 5-colour deck that was, at its core, it was a Bant deck. It was Six
blue, white, green,
Revelations,
people don't
Supreme
Bant.
Verdicts, mixed with ramp cards like Farseek. Farseek is 1 in the green, searches for
Island.
any
Any
an
other
island,
basic types.
island, plain, swamp, or mountain, specifically not forest. But because you had shocklands at that time, you could go get yourself a green land, much in the same way as these ones work. If it says island, swamp, plains, or mountain, you could still get the Cinderglade or the Canopy Vista because they have those types. And it just ran the most ridiculous cards, and it was just insane because it was able to work.
Having this dual land type is just ridiculous. Like, these cards aren't for limited.
No.
They're just not. All the other all the things we've talked about so far have been constructed and limited. These are pretty much, these are here for the constructed.
Yeah.
There's no, like, they're rares.
Yeah.
Like, it's now we get to the discussion of the
How
comparison,
far?
because these are immediately going to be compared to Shocklands.
Yeah.
Now, Shocklands, if you don't know, they're pretty much the same as this.
Yeah.
Apart from instead of the enter ability is they come into play tapped unless you pay 2 life.
Yeah.
Or essentially shock yourself, which is why they're called Shocklands. Now, me and Tom will discuss this a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're on a little bit of different things of how we feel about these compared to Shocklands. If they're better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've both decided that they're not strictly better or strictly worse. They are different. They are not
different.
a replacement.
But why
and-
they're different is that's what we're disagreeing about.
Yeah, so I think we've both agreed that these could potentially make it into modern. I think they will make it into modern.
Yeah,
I think.
they'll see modern play.
Any further than that, I don't know. Like, it's very risky there because they have such a condition
Like,
on them. I'm not sure that the legacy and
I
vintage
think
decks
this is
will
one of
take
those things
them,
that it depends on the deck you want to run.
yeah.
Like
And
if you're a monocolor and you're splashing a color for a few cards, these cards are insane
Yeah.
because most of your deck's going to be basic lands anyway.
Yeah.
And apart from that, we kind of disagree.
Yeah. So
About the uses.
you think that these cards are best in the aggro decks, right?
I think it's best in like the single, maybe 2 color aggro decks.
Okay.
Because you can be playing mainly basics essentially.
Yeah.
You want to be getting out the untapped lands, and then as soon as it hits turn 3, you can play a land and not worry about it. You can get access to like the mono red deck currently can get. You'll just be buying mountain, and then you can like put the whatever it's called, the Cinder Glade down and play your Tarka's command.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Like I think.
And I don't disagree that. I think in those specific kinds of aggro decks, they will work as well as Shocklands, possibly better.
Probably better.
I still think that they are going to be really, really strong in the 3-color decks.
No, they're good. No, I'm not saying.
I think that control decks are going to love them, and this is where we disagree. Because I made the argument that in a control deck, quite often, if you're playing against an aggro deck, your life total is very important to you. and there are times where you need this extra color that you've been struggling to find, but playing a shock land, because it's dealing 2 damage to you, that's the same as not having that land, essentially. Like, you're still going to die because of that land. So these lands, you can play your first 2 turns, you can fetch or you can play one of your 2 main color basics, and then turn 3, now you have the opportunity to grab any of these lands. They come in untapped, they save you 2 life, and I think that they're going to be played in control decks. I think that they're very good for
standard.
that.
There's no debate here. Standard, they're insane anyway.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm not debating standard. We're kind of debating more modern.
Yeah.
My viewpoint is getting out the basics on turn 1 and 2. If you're running the 3 color like Jeskai, Grixis, Esper control decks, you want access to 2 or 3 of the colors as early as possible.
Yeah.
And searching for a basic to have turn 1, I can see like the control deck at the moment isn't seeing any problem with the aggro deck about playing the shock lands. I mean, it's hard for me to explain. Having the turn 1 and 2 in the control deck, you want to have access to as most colours as possible.
Yeah.
And losing 3 life on turn 1 to get your untap shock land, which you don't normally do in control anyway. So turn 2, say, having access to more colours untapped.
See, I'm looking at these less as early game, to be fair, and more as late game.
But it's like the opposite points. Like, you're saying that you want these over shock land, so you play your basics early and then you don't lose life later on.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the control decks don't mind losing life early on to shock lands because it gives them the spells that stop aggro.
Yeah.
So it's kind of 2 different viewpoints.
Yeah, see, I think these are going to complement shocks.
I'm not sure that.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think you're going to end up playing like 4 or 5 of these in your land slots. The rest will be made up of like shocks and fetches, and then a handful of basics to protect against like.
Just say the Esper control deck, say.
Yeah.
Or just the black-blue control deck with white splash for like Pathworks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like these are gonna be played anyway. You're gonna play a playset of Watery Graves. You're gonna play a playset of Chung Hollow, just because that means you can run 8 fetch lands, which search for 8 2-color lands. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're too different to be a replacement. Like, they're definitely not a replacement.
We're not arguing that they're replacements. Like, they're one of those cards that works alongside with. Like, they've been very careful again to make sure that you have to have actual basic lands, not just basic types.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, these and shock lands would just blow up everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the ones we've got to wait to see. Obviously, we're not pros.
Yeah. But what I would say is pick up as many of these as you can, because they're going to go up in price. So they're probably about,
Unfortunately, this is how Magic works.
Yeah, they're going to be about £10 at the moment. They'll probably go up to 20 once the set stops being in full circulation.
Fetches were like 25 something. They've gone down to about 12 now.
Yeah, but they're going to go up.
They're going to go up again
Cons
after
and Fate cycle out.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how Magic is. Because of how construction works, that your land base is going to be the hardest or most expensive part for you to find.
Yeah.
Which is really off-putting to new players.
But it feels so good when you've got this perfect mana base.
You know what,
you
Tom?
can worry.
I played Modern a month or 2 ago, properly for the first time.
Yeah.
And been able to fetch out a shock land.
Yeah.
Oh, it just feels
good. I still haven't done it yet. It
feels so good. Yeah, so we disagree with some bits. I think we're both in the agreement that these cards are just insane.
Yeah.
Constructed, they're just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even if you want to play, like I play generally Esper Control, even if I open a 6 Syndic Blades, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Because they're worth so
value
much.
anyway.
You're going to be able to get even if you've got 6 Cinder Glades, you're going to be able to get 3 Prairie Streams and 3 Sunken Hollows if you want.
Yeah,
that. Like you can just get whatever you need. So pick them up.
It's
like
it's one of those things
happy.
that when you open a booster pack, you're gonna be happy to get a rare land.
Yeah, the amount of people I know who are like, I think it was when Shocklands were coming out and they were complaining that they were pulling Shocklands, and I was just like, why are you annoyed? I think it was Temples. No, it was Temples definitely.
Temples, yeah.
And people were like, why don't
Temples were a lot of money.
Yeah, and people I know were like, oh god, I've pulled 6 lands in this booster box. Why? And I'm just like, those are so valuable.
Remember, you can't play Magic without lands unless you're playing Man on the Stretch. But yeah, people that know me know I don't buy booster boxes. I just buy the cards later on. I pre-ordered a booster box for this set.
Right.
Yeah. Mainly for the lands. These lands and some other lands we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah. I got a saucy tax return today, so I may be looking to pick up an extra box.
You could buy a few. You could buy.
I could. I'm not going to. I'm not going to spend it all on Magic.
Yeah,
I've got
these cards
other
are crazy.
stuff, but yeah, pick them up.
2-color lands are always good, essentially.
Ooh, spoilers.
if they're 2-color lands and they've got another bonus, they will be good.
Okay.
These have a bonus and another bonus.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll carry on. Move on.
So next
up,
again, my cards are in slightly the wrong order, so let me fix that. There we go. So next card we are talking about is a big one. It is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. Now, Ulamog is returning from original Zendikar. He used to be the Infinite Jaya, I believe.
He was the only Eldrazi left. I believe, was it Nissa opened a portal?
Something like that.
I believe, well, I might be wrong, but it was like to try and get rid of them, they just kind of opened a portal, and some of them went through, and Ulamog said, no, I'm going to stay here and wreck some shit.
So we have Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. He has changed since his old version. He's 10 mana, which I think he was before, or was he a bit more than that?
I'll tell you in a minute, keep going.
Yeah. So he's a 10 mana, 10/10, already pretty sweet. Legendary Eldrazi creature, or legendary creature Eldrazi, sorry. When you cast Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, exile 2 target permanents. He is indestructible. And whenever Ulamog attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library.
It's still funny every time I hear it. He was 11 mana before.
He was 11 mana before. Was he also a 10/10?
It was 10/10, yeah.
Okay. So
this card is crazy good.
A few really important things to talk about. Firstly, when you cast him, you get to exile 2 permanents. That doesn't matter whether he resolves.
No resolving. If they counter it, you still get to do it.
Yeah, they are gone. He is indestructible, so like the only way he's dying is if someone exiles him or like gives him -X/-X.
Or like suppression bonds.
Yeah. And his final ability is when he attacks, he doesn't have to deal combat damage. He's gonna survive combat. Like, who's gonna be able to take out a 10/10?
There's some important things on this card. It gets rid of lands. It's just 2 permanents, so we've got some, say, Awaken lands. You can get rid of those. If they're a problem, I mean, you've got a 10/10. So, he also doesn't have what the old Eldrazi had.
So you mentioned he has a few things that are important on his card. This one is an important one that's not on his card.
The old Eldrazi, so Ulamog, Emrakul, and other one, Kozilek, all had. I think all 3 of them had the ability.
Yes.
That when this goes into your graveyard
from anywhere,
you shove it and your graveyard back into your library. Now I believe Mark Rosewater went on record about why they did that. And it was they were really scared of Reanimator at the time.
Yeah.
Reanimator was a deck that was in standard.
Yeah.
So they didn't want you to be able to reanimate your 15 mana indestructible.
Yeah, on like turn 3 or 4.
So that's why it's not on these cards. It's because Reanimator isn't a thing.
Well, it's not a thing. It's just a lot worse. We still have like Reanimator, but it's not as powerful as it used to be. Where it used to be.
Don't really have many spells that do it. Like
I know we're losing all of them.
We've got think we have one of the Liliana cards did it.
Yeah, there is still a 5-mana card that does it.
Yeah, it's just not such a big thing, so
Yeah.
you don't worry about it. If they do it, well done to you.
Yeah.
Like it's really fun. Another fourth thing is the 20 cards
Yeah.
is a lot.
Yeah.
By the time you're casting this, unless you're ramp, 2 attacks and you win. But on the other side, it's a 10-10, so 2 attacks and you probably win anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like you're attacking them on 2 fronts. And it's just like
because he doesn't have trample, right? So like they can chump block him, but he's still going to kill them.
Yeah.
20 cards. Didn't one of the Jaces mill that many cards? I know that's a really random aside.
One of them, ultimate, was you draw 2, and in other players draw 20 cards.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
And there's the memory of depth was 0 ability, was they mill 10.
Yeah. I knew there was something about 20 somewhere. 20 seems to be a bit of a magic number.
This
it's
card
a third
is
of the life,
crazy,
the
and if
size.
you open it, I think you've pulled money.
Limited bomb, standard all-star, I reckon.
The thing is, like, 10 mana is not ridiculous in limited.
No.
Like, especially this limited, because we're going to have all the Eldrazi spawn. Like, at the moment, I'm seeing this in 2 different decks. When I'm seeing it in a control deck.
Yeah.
I mean, the
We're talking standard now, right? Yeah.
It's standard. We're talking standard. Like, control deck, kind of, the win game at the moment is going to be Ugin.
Yeah.
Because we're losing a lot of the win cons anyway.
But this guy's really good as the counter, essentially. Like, you play him, you exile their Ugin, plus some other permanent. Suddenly you've got a 10-10. The downside is, on the flip side, if you've played your Ulamog, they can do the exact same thing. Exile your Ulamog, and
the other deck I see this in is obviously Eldrazi deck.
Yeah, the green ramp deck.
All the little ones that make Eldrazi spawn, ramping them to this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a primarily green deck, to be quite frank. I think it's going to be a green ramp deck that builds into this, because you've got a lot of green ramp cards that specifically only fetch forests, and obviously that's done to dodge the new dual lands we've had that we've looked at already.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This card is just crazy. I mean, when I first read it, I was just like, how is this real? Like,
did you see the statue they put up? Like, I think it was outside PAX East. It was like Ulamog coming through some kind of portal, like crushing a police car, and like,
that was really cool. This card is just crazy. Like, I don't see
hope that we get the others back. Like, I kind of want to see them as well.
I'm not too fussed. Eldrazi were never really my favourite. I think that's more because I didn't like Annihilator.
Yeah, I mean, like, but it feels incomplete, right? Like, it feels like we need the 3.
It kind of does.
They came as a 3. You want to see what the other 2 do, especially because like Emrakul, like they've kept aspects of what they did. Because I think, if I remember rightly, this one, when he entered, he destroyed a permanent.
Yeah.
And so obviously he's kept that kind of thing, but now he's exiling 2 permanents, so it's ramped up. And like Emrakul, when he was cast, you got an extra turn. Like, the only way I was saying this, the only way I can see them reprinting Emrakul is if they print him as a planeswalker, as a 15-mana colorless planeswalker with like his big ultimate being take an extra turn or 2, and like things like that.
No. I don't know. If he comes back, it'll still be a creature. Like, just because of the lore as well. Like,
what about the lore?
Like giving Eldrazi, like they can pretty much kind of planeswalk anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So I don't think they need. Also, like, the idea behind planeswalkers is the spark.
Yeah.
And you have to have like some sort of distress or kind of an emotional awakening to get it. And I don't really think Eldrazi feel emotion. They just feel the hunger.
Yeah.
The ceaseless hunger, like Ulamog. Look at him. He doesn't feel emotions. He just feels hungry.
Yeah, I guess. That's a very good point.
I don't think they're always planeswalkers. Again, Ozzy. In the textbook.
You just
I love that.
Yeah.
Even if it's not having it still in the textbook, I just love that.
Yeah, because all the planeswalkers they're not fills
There are
under
fills the entire
boss.
Yeah, this card's just crazy. Like, there's no discussion here about if it's good or not. It's just good.
Bomb standard probably in at least 1 or 2 decks, maybe
like,
more.
Modern.
Yeah, maybe even that. It's going to be reanimated target.
This is one of the. I mean, the reanimated targets, Griselbrand.
Yeah.
Maybe Sheldred. I'm not sure.
I don't know
else.
whether it beats Griselbrand because of the raw card advantage that Griselbrand provides.
The thing is, though, but
yeah, I don't know.
It's one of the things that it's evil, like.
Yeah. And obviously, to fight the Eldrazi, there are a series of heroes. And at the forefront of those heroes, of course, are the Planeswalkers. And we have our first Planeswalker spoiled for this set. The Light of Zendikar. You should be able to see him on the screen now. Text is a little small. I might make him bigger because there's a lot of his stuff.
I just start reading it out.
It's fine. It's bigger.
It's a loyalty Planeswalker for 2 and 2.
Yeah.
Abilities, surprisingly.
Planeswalker Gideon.
Gideon. He's got a +1.
Yep.
Which is at the end of turn, he becomes a 5 soldier ally.
Yep.
Creature, indestructible, and still Planeswalker. Prevent all damage you've dealt to him this turn. Just to note the 2 things there. He doesn't enter the battlefield when he turns into it,
nope.
So it doesn't trigger your rally.
Yeah.
And 2, the damage prevention is always one of those where people go, what's there?
Yeah.
Well, it's because stuff like other formats, you've got stuff like Wither and Infect that deal damage in the form of counters.
Yeah.
So it prevents that. It stops.
Not just that. Another really important thing is that when he transforms, he's still a Planeswalker.
Yes,
and that means he dies when he has no loyalty counters.
Because if you do damage to him, it removes the counters.
Yes. So if you cast a spell like Lightning Bolt, which is 1 mana 3 damage, to him, he would lose 3 of his loyalty counters. And if he dropped to 0 loyalty counters, he'd instantly die. Which you don't want as a designer. You don't want your super awesome card to die before it's done anything.
Well, that's why that ability there. Sorry, so that's his first ability. His 0 ability is a 2/2 white knight ally token on the battlefield. Now that enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
That normally that ability will be a minus.
Yeah.
Normally it's a -1 or something like that. Yeah. And then his big ultimate. Gideon never really has a big ultimate.
Yeah, no.
He had it on one of them, but it's a -4. So important note: you can ultimate him the turn you play him.
Yes.
You get an emblem, which says creatures you control get +1/+1.
Yeah.
Now this doesn't seem very powerful, like on the face of it.
Yeah.
But having what's called anthem effect, which is disability, and them not being able to deal with it because you can't get rid of emblems apart from one way. But we'll go away from that. Just having that insane, like
and like I've seen a lot of people talking about him being kind of like, well, he's all right. Being able to put down like an emblem just like that says your creatures get +1/+1 no matter what is huge. Like. There are no real anthems. Like, there's one anthem in standard, as far as I'm aware.
All of Heroes?
Pardon?
All of Heroes? When this comes out.
Like, there won't be any, essentially, when this comes out. Like, as soon as we lose that, we lose all of our anthem effects. And all of those were artifacts, which could easily be dealt with.
Yeah.
This is going to be a permanent emblem. Not only that, but you can play him, you can +1 him, and then next turn you can drop his emblem, and he's still alive, and he's giving all your creatures big bonus. Like, +1/+1 on all your creatures is pretty big, especially if it's like the top end of the aggro ally deck, like the green-white aggro deck.
Or even dropping him and just zeroing him.
Yeah.
In that type of deck just triggers all your rally again. Like, that's also playing like rally can trigger more than once a turn.
Yes.
People in case there's the one that gives you +1/+1 stuff like that.
Yeah.
The thing is, I've been looking at this card a lot, and I think it might be a new control finisher.
Really? I was about to say I don't think it fits in control. Unlike his original, because the first Gideon Drawer, one of his abilities was all your creatures have to attack Gideon. And then his
Became a
zero was he became a 4/4.
which had the same you can't
Similar
damage
to
him.
this. And then his
Minus 2 was you destroy target
destroy a
tap
tap
creature.
So like he was very much like fitting in the control decks. Like his plus was quite big, if I remember correctly. It was like +2 or 3, and he started on about 4 or 5 loyalty, so like he could take a beating.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I'm not so sure. Like I get what you're trying to say. Like
this is not a turn 4 play.
no,
Not at all.
Well, it is in some decks.
In control, I'm talking about in control.
Yeah.
This is what I'm seeing in control deck. At the moment, when rotation happens in September, we lose all first block and we lose the core set.
Yeah.
So the control deck loses a lot of win cons.
Yeah.
We lose Ashok, we lose Elspeth.
Yeah.
Prognostic Sphinx people still using.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got Silumgar still, and Ugin. Ugin I've played a bit. It's a little slow. It's still good as a board wipe, but I think if you drop this on turn like 7, 8,
yeah,
and then like you play a dude down, like it protects you and itself with a dude.
Yeah.
And then the turn after, you can be dealing 5 attacks to them.
Yeah.
You board wipe.
Yeah.
Then you attack for 5. Their boards can probably empty in the control deck. It's 4 turns. Like, I'm not saying it's definitely going in, but it's one of those ones I'm looking at potentially building in. It's just really good. Like having a 0 that gives you a dude, but it's not 1, it's a 2/2.
Yeah. I know.
I see potential for him in control. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, in an aggro deck, even in mid range, this is crazy good. Like
Yeah.
at the moment, we've got the mono white devotion deck,
Yeah.
which I still think is going to be around after rotation. It's not just going to be called not devotion anymore, but
Yeah.
like you're still going to have the 1, 2, 3, 4 like mana dudes in that deck. Like you can still have Archangel Tithes, like Knight of the White Orchid, stuff like that, and the allies can make it a bit better. It's just gonna be, again, like generally, Planeswalkers are insanely good. Like, there's nothing else I can say really. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, I get what you're saying. I get that he could be a control finisher. I mean, obviously, he's a mutable as a planeswalker. Essentially, is the way to look at him. But I don't know. He just does. I don't feel like if you pull him late game and you haven't, or like mid game and you haven't managed to control the board, and you're still waiting on a board wipe, and like he doesn't.
But that's the same thing as you can say about Silumgar.
Yeah.
If you not control the board, it's not going to help you.
Silumgar can block. Silumgar can save you from something.
This guy can save you.
Not to the same extent. Like you're losing whatever. You're like if you play him and you make the knight, you're probably losing the.
It's one of the ones that I'm unsure. Like
yeah,
I can see the potential for him in like a mid range. Like
yeah,
we're still going to have the Abzan deck.
I mean, we're still going to have Flashy Serpent, whatever it's called.
Co-location.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, I'm just saying that it could be another one. We're gonna get a few Planeswalkers in the next set.
Yeah.
From what we've seen from pictures.
So yeah.
He's
interesting. He's got a few homes. We think maybe.
Yeah.
Limited all star. Doesn't need saying. Right.
Planeswalkers always are. Like even Tibalt All Star.
So the last thing we have to properly talk about, and this is a big one. In original Zendikar, they released secret cards in the first printings of Zendikar. Every now and again, you would get a treasure, and that would be some kind of ancient artifact from the history of Magic that was worth huge amounts of money. So the Mox were in there, Black Lotus was in there. There's a bunch of other things. Like
it's not the scroll. There's another rack that's just insane, like a torture rack thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was just crazy powerful cards that were just in booster packs
yeah, and like
because they were like because
once
the
it,
idea was Zendikar was kind of like a home of all these treasures.
yeah,
Like you go adventuring there, kind of, and there was all these hidden relics. There was
yeah,
expeditions
which
and
is why we had like quest as a
quest for
mechanic.
yeah,
Quest,
Tony
yeah.
Heart stuff like that.
No, nobody really thought that they would continue that, and even I don't think even when we got to when they announced Battle for Zendikar,
No one
everyone was
expected it.
like, "Oh, we'll get fetchers back." Nobody thought we might get something similar to that. But Wizards decided to treat us all and has created
Like,
expeditions, which are full art versions of some of the biggest lands
foil,
in Magic's
full up
history.
foil.
Sorry, full art foil versions. So on your screen now, you should be able to see we've got at the back there are all 5 of the Tango lands, and then in front we've got 4 other lands. So we've got Hallowed Fountain, Arid Mesa, Godless Shrine, and Steam Vents. So shocks and fetches are all going to be part of these special lands.
There are they've announced that there's 25.
Yep.
They're all lands,
Yeah.
which makes sense because
They've announced their rarity is 1 per case.
I is it?
Yes, it is 1 per
I-
case. So it's one.
I read
in,
it was slightly more common than a mythic foil, which
Uh,
is it.
They've announced that I believe I've heard from multiple sources they are specifically 1 per case. So 1 every 6 booster boxes, but not just 1 in 6 booster boxes.
Yeah, it's on average. On average.
No,
yes.
it's not. It's not on average.
No, it's
That's
literally
specifically-
1.
Yes, it is
It's
literally.
literally 1 every
So
case.
if you bought a case of booster boxes, so if you bought
You'll
from
get
Wizards a specific box of 6 booster boxes, you would get 1.
Oh,
So it's not like, oh, I just pick up 6 booster boxes from any random stores and
you
I'm
have to
going
be
to get
sequential
one.
essentially.
It had, yeah, because it's the
Usually
way their
that
sheets
seems
work.
about the same rarity as like a mythic foil
Yeah.
to me.
So
Like that's generally how rare they are.
they're freaking rare. They're going to be worth £200 to £300, like
Like
$300
at the moment,
plus dollars. I would
just look
expect.
at like Arid Mesa.
Yeah,
Arid Mesa is the fetch land that weren't reprinted. One of the fetch lands that wasn't reprinted in
Yeah.
cards. That's looking at about £60
yeah,
at the moment, and they're releasing it as a full art foil, limited print run. Like it's
Yeah.
not very print, but it's like limited this set, very
Yeah.
rare. Like
it's going to double, triple in price, and that's specifically again, that's a white red fetch land. That's not getting onto the blue lands, which typically are the most expensive.
yeah. Now the question is, what lands are going to do? I know we've discussed this a little bit.
Yeah, so the current expectation is we're going to get all 10 shocks, all 10 fetches,
And then
and
the
then
5.
obviously the 5 Tango lands that they've shown already.
Which people are disappointed by.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that the Tango lands are
People
in
were
there.
looking at like maybe people were looking maybe they'll do an Urborg, you know,
Yeah, or maybe a man land, like
Default, you know what, the Manlands,
Celestial
like
Colonnade.
Celestial Colonnade, stuff like that.
Treetop Village would have been nice.
Another thing, I don't even explain this. If you open this in a booster pack,
Yes.
if it is in a limited environment, so if it's in sealed or draft or your pre-release, you can play it in that event. It's fine, it's legal. Otherwise, you can only play these lands in the formats that they are legal in.
Yeah.
So the Godless Shrine,
Yeah.
you can only play in modern or vintage or wherever. You can't
Yeah.
play in standard.
Yeah.
So it means that if you open a Tango land, you can play that in standard.
Yeah. Which would be freaking sweet.
Yeah, yeah. Like these cards are crazy. Like full
Yeah.
art, just the artwork on them is fantastic.
Yeah.
They released the Godless Shrine like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's beautiful because it's like it's Godless Shrine on 2 different levels. It's obviously like the area is barren and like it looks like
It's
nobody's
like
visited
black,
the shrine.
white,
It looks like the gods haven't visited that area, but also the shrine itself looks like an Eldrazi.
yeah. Like,
Essentially, the shrine to something that is
all
not
of
God.
all of the artwork is like if you said they're going to do a special print run of full art foiler cards, you'd expect the artwork to be kind of quite generic. It
Yeah.
would look awesome but generic, but they've tailored these so towards Zendikar.
Yeah, and
like
it's
they're all
wonderful. They're so pretty.
they're so pretty. Like when they announced they're doing full art lands with this set,
Yeah.
which we've not discussed yet, but we'll talk about now. They're doing
Yeah.
Fallout lands this set, so all your lands
All
in
your
this
basic
set,
lands.
all your basic lands. And then when they announced this, it was like, this is just crazy. Like
Yeah.
these cards, even like just like we know how expensive like the shock and fetch lands are going to be because we can see how they are anyway.
Yeah.
And just add a few $100 up to it.
Yeah.
The Tango lands, like, if you open enemies, just be happy.
Yes.
Like, even if you don't play those colours, just keep it, and then like, or sell it. Like, these are just insane. Like, as I said, like I'm
Worth
buying
so much money.
mainly for the land, this included. Like, you open one of these, like, it's. This set is just being crazy at the moment.
When was
like,
the last time you bought a booster box? Actually, thinking about it, yeah. In
I
Estrad
bought-
area, Avacyn was it, or maybe Return to Ravnica?
No, the last booster box I bought was Avacyn Restored, I believe.
Wow, okay.
Something like that. I mean,
Long
the last
time
one
ago.
might have been Alara Reborn, but
yeah.
but like the latest actual chronological set.
So yeah, long
Yeah,
time.
I don't buy booster boxes, and this
No.
set just made me kind of like.
Yeah.
I also might be because I play a lot more constructed now.
Yeah.
When we first started, I bought booster boxes. Like, oh yeah, all these cards.
Yeah.
About a year after, I was like, when I got into control, more constructed, and the mana base is the most important thing. But yeah, these cards are crazy. The artwork's fantastic. I mean, we're only theorising that it's going to be the 25 lands we said.
Yes, yeah. Maybe they'll surprise us and they'll do
They've
something
not
different.
they've not shown a fetch land that was in Khans.
Yeah.
They.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
don't think they have. So it still might not be. It might be just the fetch lands that weren't.
Yeah.
I'd be kind of disappointed if there were different lands,
Yeah.
because having 5 special lands that starts these lands, and then the other 5 being like, oh no, you can't have these. Like,
Yeah.
I'm happy with it being. People also saying that they might do these in the next set. I'm not hopeful.
No, I don't think they will.
I think it makes this set special. That's
Yeah.
that's why the old one was really cool, because it made it special.
Yeah.
That's full art's really cool. Last time Zendikar, it's special to this place, and at the same time they could do full arts.
Yeah.
Basic lands is when they come back to Zendikar. The set that was land based.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
that's when you can do the full art lands, including these. Like, that's how it works. Like,
Yeah. Right. Moving on to talking about the next set, in fact.
Oath of Guardians?
Yes. No,
Gatekeepers?
Oath of the Gatewatch.
Gatewatch. Oh.
Yes. So they've announced the name. They've shown the logo.
At least
Now,
4 photos. Not
Yeah.
photos. They aren't real.
4 pictures. And the pictures have Jace, Chandra, Gideon, and Nissa.
They will.
All holding their hand up, doing some kind of similar sign to each other, and we don't really know what it's about.
I mean, we kind of knew Jace was going to probably be in one of these 2 sets.
Yeah.
Because he was on the favourite text of one of the cards I bought a while ago. He was also involved in the original Zendikar. I mean, a Jace from a Zendikar set. I mean, it'd be good. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, last time they did a Jace in this set like this was Planeswalkers were.
Yeah.
So they made Jace the Mind Sculptor, and he was banned. Still is banned in.
Yeah.
So I don't know we're going to Planeswalkers. We know in this set we've been shown some of the booster pack artwork.
Yes, we know that
We
Obnix
know
is
in
coming back.
Kiora.
Yeah.
We know we're assuming it's Obnixless on the pictures.
Yeah.
That was it. Was Gideon on one of them?
No, I think there were 2
One of them was a
creatures. Like
Yeah.
they usually do like 3 planeswalkers and then 2 things from the world.
Obnixless, I hope he's a creature.
Kind of hope he's a planeswalker. I think we need another black, like mono black
I was reading
planeswalker.
about Obnixless actually this earlier.
Yes.
And he, as part of him becoming a demon, he lost his spark.
Yeah.
And he's going to be the villain of this story.
Okay.
Because I think it's in the game that was released that I'm never going to play, and he's angry or something, and the only way you can see out getting a spark back potentially or getting some power is destroying Zendikar.
Oh, okay.
So I feel it might be the bad guy in this.
Yeah. I mean, we're speculating right now about the story. We have no idea. Like, the best we know about the story is the Eldrazi are still here, and the Planeswalkers are coming to mess them up.
Yeah, I think like it's going to be like the next set's going to be like they're all going to swear an oath to protect certain gates while Eldrazi might come out.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what I'm taking from the name. Something like that.
But we have no idea. We're predicting that there's going to be a couple more. I was having a discussion about how many Planeswalkers we're likely to get in this set, because of course we've moved down now to the two set block. Originally there was 3, and they did like usually 2 big sets and 1 small set, and that gave us 5 Planeswalkers because typically there were 2 in the big set and 1 in the small set. Now we're down to 2 block sets. Are they going to maintain the same amount of Planeswalkers across the entire set?
I think they might change. I don't think it's going to.
Or is it going to shrink down?
I hope they don't go like these 2 sets. We're going to have this many Planeswalkers. I hope it just varies a bit.
Yeah. I feel like it's a good idea for them to cut down the amount of Planeswalkers because it's nice to have the story a bit more focused around the characters, and they can do that by cutting the amount of Planeswalkers and having more intimate stories in each block across the future storylines.
As I said, we've got Gideon in this set.
Yeah.
We're going to have Kiora.
Yeah.
Much. If we might have Nissa this set potentially.
Yeah.
Because
and then Jace Chandra potentially next set.
Jace Chandra next set. Apart from that, we have no idea.
No.
Maybe Ob. None of the Planeswalkers we've talked about are actually black.
Yeah.
Like Ob Nixus is the only one that is a black Planeswalker.
Yeah.
Well, was, and then he became a demon.
Yeah.
But there's been sets before we've not had a certain colour of Planeswalker. It's not been unheard of.
Yeah.
I definitely think we're going to get a Jason Chandra next set.
Yeah.
Obviously because of the artwork. I'm looking forward to those.
Yep.
Jace particularly. If they do next set and go Jason, then they say, oh, it's going to have 4 abilities. Everyone's going to freak out, go crazy.
But yeah. So that's kind of it from us this week.
I don't even know how long we've been going.
No, about 2 hours, I think.
Yeah. That'd be fun to listen to.
We've mentioned before, next week we think is spoiler week start or spoiler season starts properly.
Should start getting spoilers every day.
Yep. We'll probably record another episode next weekend, like at the end of the first week, talking about our picks, like what we think are some of the most interesting cards and the biggest cards that have been released. Yeah, is there anything in particular you're hoping to see? I guess control cards. You love a new Sphinx's Revelation.
There's stuff that I want to see and stuff that I think I'm going to see. Like there's certain cards that I want and they're never going to print. Like full mana board wipe, not going to happen.
What are you complaining about? You got Languish.
Yeah, but board wipe. Apart from Siege Rhino and Tassiger and all those other 5-hour toughness creatures. I just want, at the moment, Control's gonna, when rotation happens, because we and Tom both mainly look at standard.
Yeah.
Because that's where we are. We don't have enough money or time to have gone into modern yet.
Yeah.
We're getting there though.
Yeah, I think.
I almost have the land base.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm losing we're losing our definite kill spell. Down. But we knew that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Wizards are kind of going down the route of doing more targeted removal.
Yes. Yeah.
Fine, I don't mind it. It means it's a bit more varied.
Yeah.
Harder for me to build, but
it makes more interesting games. It makes more interesting decisions.
I want an interesting counter spell. I don't think it's too much to ask to have a good counter spell that's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's one of those things that I could tell someone, oh, we're losing Dissolve, it's really bad, and they go, I'll just play Cancel instead.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand how much like that Scry 1
helps
with control. I mean, if they do like a 1 mana less contradict, so like
Yeah.
blue, and 2,
Yeah.
counter draw a card. It's quite powerful anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's still got Slumgar Scorn. Apart from that, maybe another finisher, something.
Yeah. I'm personally hoping to looking forward to seeing Kiora. I was a big fan of the old Kiora.
Yeah,
in fact, it kind of formed my standard deck.
Yeah.
Because the old one was really, really crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully something cool with this new one. Like I said, I'm a mid-rangey player. Like I like control-esque like decks, but I don't like to go full control. So something cool in the mid-range slot. Some nice ramp cards would be good. Something.
At the moment, getting ramping all colours. That's the thing we'll see from this set.
Yeah.
Is all the Eldrazi kind of the devoid cards.
Yeah.
A lot of them are making scions. So I think we're gonna get big mana stuff.
Yeah. But other than that, also I'm interested to see maybe the rally deck form in front of me, as all of the cool rally creatures appear. But yeah, we'll see what happens essentially, and we'll see what we get.
I said, like, at the moment, like, I'm happy we're getting these lands.
Yeah,
which means that,
and that's the other thing. Seeing the other expedition lands is gonna be nice.
Yeah,
seeing what they do with them.
That's gonna be one of those, like, that's the pipe dream thing.
I mean, I'm just really excited to see the artwork for like the Sacred Foundry.
Yeah, they're gonna be crazy,
things like that. The other thing I'd like to see is, and I know what you're going to say immediately. You're going to say Relic Seeker. I want to see a fixed Stoneforge Mystic. I want to see like a 2-drop that fetches you an artifact that doesn't do anything else. Like it's just that.
I think in this set we're gonna get some equipment.
Yeah, and that'd be nice.
A couple reasons. One, because this is the home of the core, which are a creature type that mainly focus around equipment. We've not seen any yet from this set.
This is also the home of Nahiri, the Lithomancer,
who is a core,
who created the Stoneforge Blade and is the Stoneforge Mystic, as far as we can tell.
I believe they said she wasn't.
Okay.
But she did make all the Hedrons.
Yeah. She's big into artifacts.
she's a pre-mending planeswalker, which means that she's almost pretty much a god.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see her mentioned on cards. I don't think she'll be a card, but I think we'll see her mentioned.
I don't think she's still as powerful though. I think the mending affected all planeswalkers because Liliana in the storyline was a pre-mending planeswalker. And then it happened, and then that's why she went and found the pacts with demons.
I'm not sure. But I think we'll get some cool equipment. Obviously, we're not going to get like power boards or anything that was ridiculous. But I think we're going to get some equipment. One, because of the core, I said, and two, because of stuff like Relic Seeker.
Yeah. Because
we've seen a card that pretty much does nothing.
Yeah.
Standard, and it was a rare, and it's kind of like you can search for the Nissa Blade, which was all right.
I mean, sort of the Animist coupled with all the landfall triggers.
Yeah, I mean, that might be good,
all links in eventually.
But like, the Relic Seeker just for that one card doesn't seem...
No, it's not that great.
So I think we'll get some cool equipment.
Yeah.
I've not seen it yet. We might not get it until next set.
Yeah.
This set will be more focused on like the Eldrazi and the it won't be focused on the Eldrazi and like the land, and then the next set will be them like having a big battle back.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we'll end it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
Bye.